Hello and welcome everybody to our next session of the podcast of The Secret Life. I'm here with Christine, my co-host. Hey,
Hi.
Christine.
Hi, everyone.
And today we're talking about the supply chain equaling the money chain and where does supply chain go, especially with online retail, and follow the money as well, which is really interesting.
It is. I'm not sure that people actually think about it. So when they buy online, I don't know if anyone's as prolific as me. I don't walk into a store anymore. But when you press that buy button, do you actually think about where is your money going? A lot of people think about the supply chain maybe a little bit in the back of their mind, but do they really think about the supply chain equals money chain? What do you think, Carl?
So true. I mean, I personally prefer shopping online because I do not like going into stores or into crowded stores. I'm not good with crowds, which is quite interesting for me, being on stage and publicly speaking and having fun with it, and then not being good in crowds.
Don't know a lot of people know that about you, actually.
I'm terrible in crowds.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's anxiety. So me going shopping is me being a very high anxiety level. So I am a very early adapter of online shopping.
No Boxing Day sales for you.
I would never. Oh, this is my nightmare. I would stay away from the CBD because of that.
Wow.
So when I lived in the CBD in Sydney and it was Boxing Day, I would not go in the direction of any of the stores because it would have been just mayhem on George Street.
Wow. Yeah, fair enough. Well, you're aware. That's a good thing.
Yes, I know my triggers.
Hence online.
Yeah, hence online. And remember when Amazon came up as the first retailer, and then all the retailers jumped on board, and now we have this really colorful online landscape where you can literally buy anything. And in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years, it became really evident that large retailers from overseas come in on a very, very low price level and try to capture as much market as they can. And the question was always why and how. How more than why. The why is clear, to gain market share, but how can you do that?
How are they so successful?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
how is this happening?
Is it profitable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually bought one of those little stirrer things, those electronic stirrers you put into your coffee for $1. So how can they do that?
Yeah, exactly.
$20 if you go to a store here. It does make sense to me.
Exactly, and it's so interesting to see that if you follow, and that's why it's so connected, right? Supply chain and money, because if you follow supply chain, you usually start following where the money goes as well, and how can they, if they're not profitable, how are they funded?
Exactly. And what are the humanitarian aspects of this, right? So to build up a cost structure, there are a lot of elements, right? There's the base costs of electricity and transport and whatever, but labour plays a really big part in a cost structure. So how are they making it so successful? I'm really regretting that coffee stirrer right now.
But we're all guilty in getting trapped in it and just ordering because it's such a good bargain.
Yeah.
But I mean, it depends in which position you are, right? Financially. I'm in a position where I can make very conscious choices on what do I want to support by spending money. If I want to support ethical labor practices, if I want to support maybe ethical farming, if I want to support organic, anything that I hold close to values that I want to represent, if I want to support it, it will cost money. And that is money that if you can afford it and you want to spend it, that will represent your values. And that is you actually then not only supporting, but actually voting for it. Because
absolutely,
a lot of times there are discussions of retailers or stores saying, "Oh, I can't compete and against those cheap Asian Chinese websites like Temu who come in at these massively low prices." And the question is always, do you compete on a price level? You will lose. But if you compete on a level of understanding and values, then I think you can always create your customer base from there. And it's so much more retainable, because you can retain those customers much easier than a bargain shopper who will always run after the bargain and not be that loyal.
But I think if people think about it more, they might change their decision. Like, I would not have bought that coffee stirrer if I sat here and thought about it the way we're thinking about it right now. I would have gone down to my local store and bought a coffee stirrer for $20 versus $1, because the repercussions are a bit of a snowball.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Yeah.
You go in and so that's such a great example. You buy an item cheaply, and whatever you paid for, that money will now go and leave the Australian economy completely.
Correct.
Because there's zero processing, there's zero value chain happening in Australia. It is going offshore. It's leaving Australia immediately, and it's actually invested into another country's economy.
Yeah.
And that's a very smart move of that other country. And that plays massively into is a company that goes very cheaply into a market subsidized, or by a parent company, or is the parent or a government. I always encourage everybody to follow that ownership as well. So Temu is such a great example, because if you follow Temu ownership, it becomes really interesting who is owning it and how those influences work. And all of a sudden, the strategy becomes clear that it's not about profit. It's about market share. It's about getting as much market share as you can, and then raising your prices at a later stage to become profitable. But you need to afford those. That initial investment is massive. But the trade-off is that money comes into an economy.
And it's coming out of ours.
Yeah, correct.
So whatever we would have bought in Australia, we're now buying overseas, or at least the money is going overseas.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I'll think about local. I go to King's Cross markets all the time, and I'll support the local farmers, and I'll get to know them and thinking I'm doing a great thing. And then I'll go and click on something in Temu. So I think it is really about being more, making wise choices when we press the buy button.
But also, why are people getting hooked on those retail websites? Because from a shopping experience, they are actually, to me, they are full on stressful. Because it's a lot happening. You land on the page, immediately you're in a casino.
Oh, yeah.
A dial is spinning.
That.
Yeah, I dislike it. I went to Temu, I think, a couple of times, and I never made it past that
spinning
game.
wheel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm out.
So annoying.
I'm like, I don't want to do this.
I'm trying to look for the cross. I can't find it. Yeah.
And you need to play. Do you need to play this?
I think so. I haven't been able to get out of it.
But I mean, it catches so many people with games, with entertainment. And then it also catches people. They started a while ago. They now started, I think, a $40 minimum purchase.
Yeah, 30.
Or 30, yeah. So now they are now using your data, your consumer behavior, because you give them a lot of information that also leaves the country, right? It leaves the Regulatory Privacy Act of Australia, and it goes somewhere else where your privacy data might not be as protected as it is here.
Interesting.
And this information is then used to, if you purchase something for $20, that system will suggest you items that you are most likely to buy to get you to your $30. And all of a sudden, it's not about, oh, you know what, I could actually spend $30 in Australia and get the item that I need, instead of getting it for $10, $15 from Temu, but I have to buy $15 of other crap.
Right.
That
which
I don't
you might
need,
not, yeah.
Which I don't need anyway.
Yeah.
So actually, do I really spend less?
Very good point.
And I think it's such an incredibly well-crafted strategy. It's such an incredible example of artificial intelligence, using it to the advantage of steering your consumer. It has a gaming aspect to it. You play games. You get discounts with the games, I assume. So there's a lot of things have been put together that are really, really interesting to analyze, because all of them together make this a very addictive experience for people.
And people keep coming back. They've used quite a lot of psychological games in there, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And AI. So they've got some pretty clever AI in the back.
They have some pretty clever AI in the back, and but they're not alone. I mean, Australian retailers are doing it, which I think is way more interesting.
What you mean
because the money
suggestive
stays
selling,
there.
but they're not doing the gaming aspect, are they?
They're not doing the gaming aspect, but the Iconic now has a beta version in their search. So if you go in there and you actually, instead of searching for a blue dress, you search for an office outfit for a woman in blue, it will give you whole outfit suggestions.
Nice.
And I think that's a super smart
useful.
move, right? And then again, once you are a member and you're logged in, they will have all your past orders. They will have all your past searches. They will have everything that you put in a basket but then removed again. They will have your wish list. So there's a lot of information there and this information is actually it's protected. It's in Australia, and also if I spend money on the Iconic as an example, that money actually, most of it stays in Australia. Obviously, money for the product will go overseas where it's produced. But if I follow the supply chain, right?
Yeah.
The Iconic supply chain, the fulfillment is in Australia. They have hundreds of people who work for them in their warehouse, in each shift, who your investment is now paying their part of their
pay.
salary, their
Yeah.
pay. So you actually have this incredible
Money
choice.
chain,
Yeah,
which
you have
is
this,
staying.
Yeah, you have this incredible choice of voting for where your money goes.
Yeah.
And the argument I have with a lot of people is buying from an online shop that is from overseas really, really cheaper? Or is it just the first item that you look that is cheaper, but then you have to add up anyway
Yeah.
with crap that you don't need? And secondly, wouldn't you want to support your local, regional country economy?
Absolutely. Especially right now.
Yeah.
We need to seriously look at things like that.
Yeah, and it's such an close. This topic is so close to my heart because now we're going into Christmas, so it's becoming even more and more important because our economy in Australia was very safe for a very long time from a recession. We are now in a recession and we're getting out of it. But if us as consumers make this vote and we think about our choices of where do we spend our money and which economy are we supporting, which country are we supporting, and if I can, me as an Australian, I will always try to support Australian businesses. Because it
Absolutely.
leaves the money in the country.
Yeah. And coming up to this big spend period that we're coming into right
Yeah.
now, we're going into Black Friday, we're going into Christmas, we're going into Boxing Day sales.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of money spent in retail. So thinking about and making wise
It's the
choices.
golden quarter of the year, right?
Right.
It's where the money is made.
Yeah.
And it's billions of dollars will be spent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 100% the consumer's choice where to spend it.
Yeah.
But I want consumers to think about not only where you spend it, but why and what's the effect of it. It's not only the effect of the economy. I think you touched on it earlier. There's a huge effect on what you want to in the value chain as well. So it's not only data security. There is, of course, there is the question about labor and how is labor treated in different countries and how is labor protected in different countries. And what do you want to support?
And not only that, there's the environment. I mean, there's not a lot on Temu that isn't made of plastic in some way, form or another. And it's all wrapped in plastic.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it.
And shipped.
And shipped, yeah.
And shipped or flown or, the transport. It's, of course, there's no warehouse here in Australia for them, right? So it's coming from overseas because something like Temu only works from a very, very centralized position. So to fulfill very cheaply, I need to actually prepare a lot of volume so that I might have a really good rate with China Post or whoever my carrier is. And so I can send those very cheap items at a very low rate because volume will make my deal. So again, this is something where, of course, if I go into the world and flood it with a very cheap online marketplace, I will send volumes that nobody else can compete with. So I will have a fantastic negotiation point with carriers, whereby if I'm by no means is this saying that Australia is not doing well, but we are a tiny country with 25 million people. There's nothing. Size-wise, and that's our problem, right? In supply chain in Australia, the problem is that we are a huge country with a few people.
Yeah, and getting stuff around our country is not cheap.
It's expensive. And I will not have the requirement to build infrastructure to push through volumes that could compete with somebody else. So if I would want to replicate the volume of Timo in Australia, I'd be a premium store still, because the cost of supply chain is just much higher, because that's the reality of our country.
Yeah, but our cost structure wouldn't allow it anyway, no matter how large you were.
Yeah.
Because everything you just mentioned, our transportation costs, our labour costs, our utilities costs, nothing would enable you, I don't think, to meet those prices. So the only thing that's going to change this picture is demand, and we are the ones that are creating demand.
And we're in the driving seat.
Correct.
As consumers, we are 100% in the driving seat.
Yeah.
It's also, I do understand that there are very many different financial situations in households, right? And if you come from a privileged position where you can afford to support your values all the time, you also need to put yourself in the shoes of the position of, I maybe need to go cheap to afford Christmas presents for my kids.
Sure.
Or to afford those little luxuries that you just deserve, really. And then the discussion becomes a lot harder to push through, because even then, you should always try to keep the money locally.
Yeah.
Because especially for the demographic where you are a starting family and you're struggling, the more the people in the country spend their money in the country, the better you will be off as well.
Yes.
Right?
What goes around comes around.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Literally.
If we leave money in the country, then it circulates, right?
Money
and
chain,
it will touch more
supply
people.
chain. Yeah.
Correct. So it will circulate in the country and not leave the country. So that's that's a really, really hard decision for a lot of people.
It really is. Yeah.
And can't be. It's really hard to discuss to the point of making people understand that you can still find. Usually in Australia, you can still find bargains, I would say, that are local. But it's a lot harder than going on, let's say, Timo.
It is, absolutely. And look, I still even wonder, can you find a bargain locally, right? You go down to the local markets and you want to buy something to support people locally, but they're not cheap. They're still pretty expensive, because you've got the hobbyist creating stuff and their time and effort is expensive. And we go back to that cost structure again.
Yeah.
Our utilities are not cheap, and so, it's a very tough decision, especially when you don't have a lot of money and interest rates are rising and our disposable income is decreasing.
Yeah.
So, it's tough.
It is, and it's that really tough choice of how far do I stick to my values in supporting local economy versus how many goods do I want to buy and where do I buy them?
Well, you think about it, when I didn't grow up in a very affluent family, and I didn't get a lot of toys as a kid, right? So do you deprive your kids of your toys at Christmas? You know,
you got hand-me-down toys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Hand-me-down clothes, hand-me-down toys. Yeah, I was an only child and I still got hand-me-down.
Yeah, you got hand-me-downs from cousins.
From cousins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Friends.
I think that but also I do believe that the hand-me-down culture in families,
it's gone, hasn't it?
And I actually miss it, because I did enjoy the hand-me-down that stays in the family, because you will find a certain toy or a cushion or a blanket or whatever it is, and it's been handed down a generation now.
Yeah, right.
And
sentimental value.
But there are a couple of people in the family who have a sentimental attachment to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really lovely,
It
actually.
is, absolutely.
So that I remember family stories where those items are actually discussed in like a really nice way because everybody has emotional attachment to it. So
yeah, we've lost that. Through
lost
the
that a little
generation,
bit, yeah.
we're sounding really old, but through the generations, we really have lost some of those essences, haven't we? And a lot of it is because we're in this disposable economy. Everything is disposable, and we expect to have lots of toys for our kids and our dogs. Oh my God, my dog has so many toys. So it's just expected. And it's like, how the hell does a dog know where all the toys come from? I walk past the $2 store and she is dragging me in there. And she's turned into like a little 2-year-old tantrum dog who wants stuff. How do you know it's a new ball or a new toy? So it goes everywhere.
I agree. And that's what it plays into as well, right? It's also, I think, it's so interesting. It would be super interesting to hear from everybody who is listening. Where do you shop, and how do you make your choice? Do you make a conscious choice to shop with local or regional retailers or online stores, or do you shop wherever there's a bargain, or do you like to shop where there are games involved? What's your flavor? What triggers you to buy? And I think that would be super fun to have people commenting.
I'd love to hear.
And letting us know because.
And also, have they changed their buying patterns, or will they change their buying patterns now that they're thinking about it a bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Comment below.
Yeah. Comment. Please let us know. It would be really, really interesting to hear everybody's ideas and everybody's behavior and how you think about it. Because I started off with where Amazon was the only retail place, right? But Amazon was also a bargain hunter.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
But it used to be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then it differentiated itself from the bargain hunting websites like Temu.
You're right.
Right? And then there are so many different models on online websites where some of the stuff they're selling is sold as a marketplace, so it's not their stock. It is not
Like Catch.
Yeah. Well, Iconic as well, right? You go on Iconic,
Right, yeah.
and you can have 2 items in a basket, and one item is in the Iconic warehouse, and the other item is in somebody else's warehouse because they're only selling the item on the Iconic website.
Right. It doesn't actually look like a marketplace, but it is, right?
Yeah, it's a marketplace.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting actually as well. It's like, okay, where is that person's warehouse, or where is that supply chain going? Where's that money going?
Good point. Yeah. Interesting.
Do you, when it comes down, what's your triggers if you go on competing websites, let's say, for one item? Is delivery time a factor for you to make your decision?
What is it? What are people's decision-making criteria when they actually
Yeah,
search different websites? Is it dollars? Free shipping?
Yeah, is it free shipping? Is it free shipping or is it fast shipping?
Ah, yes, time. Yeah.
Because I personally would go for fast shipping because I'm not patient enough.
Yeah, it depends.
I pay a premium
Do you?
to get the stuff earlier that I don't need because I bought it online.
Yeah, you're a little impatient then, Carl.
That is pure impatience. There's nothing. There's no logic behind it.
No.
I even Uber Eats. If I order, I order it priority, and if it's a curry, it wouldn't matter if it's half an hour earlier or later. But I will order it priority because I'm impatient, and I do exactly the same.
Really are.
I know myself. If I go and I buy something online, I will buy it, and I will always try to get it next day. And that is
And you'll pay a premium.
Yeah, and I pay a premium for it. How stupid is that actually, right?
Stupid.
Because it doesn't matter. It's an item that I most likely don't need. Because I bought this green T-shirt.
Everything's green at the moment.
Yeah. I'm going for my green face.
Yes.
And I bought 4 of those green T-shirts because I already have 4 green
4.
T-shirts.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
4
because
of
I like-
exactly the same
yes,
T-shirt.
because I like the color, obviously. And so I don't need them to be here at any particular time of the day or
No, 'cause
week.
you've got 4
because
others.
I've got 4 others, yeah.
Yes.
But I decided to pay extra to get them delivered fast
Oh,
because
for
I
God's
couldn't
sake.
because I couldn't wait to wear them. So that is me. That's a very personal
Oh, the
how
skeletons
I
are coming out of the
tick, right?
closet now.
Yeah. But it would be really interesting how everybody else is thinking about it. And are you interested in a fast delivery or a free delivery?
See, I'm a cheapskate. I'll always go
You'd
for the
go for
cheapest.
free delivery?
No, cheapest overall cost on everything.
Uh-huh.
And I will search for like an hour to save $2. It's ridiculous.
I'm 180. I'm the opposite because if I spend an hour, that's an hour I could have sold.
yeah.
Right, it was like
you're
that's
an expensive hour.
Yeah, that's an expensive hour. So I'm like, oh no. If I find something that looks reasonably okay to me, then I pay for the premium to get it delivered for no particular reason. And yeah,
Yeah, very cool. So I think for me, it's number one is quality. The thing I love about online is I'm very particular about what I buy. So I know before I get online exactly what I want. And I love the fact that I can actually find it. Whereas if you go to a store and you know what you want, you have to go to 10 stores to find what you want. Now I go online, I type in very specifically what I want,
Yeah.
I find it, and then once I've found it, I'll then shop to find out the cheapest price for it that I can get it anywhere else. Very deliberate.
see, that's very structured.
Yeah.
I will go on Google and search for something, and in the shopping that Google comes up with, I will click on the site that is Australian,
Yeah, good on you.
and then I will go in there and search for it.
Yeah.
And then to the total opposite, my partner is Arturo is totally different. He will stalk an item online for quite a while.
For it to drop price.
No, well, potentially. And then go to the store to try it on.
Oh, yeah,
and then
clever.
decide if it's cheaper online or in the store and decide where he buys it.
Well done, Arturo. I like that.
And he has the patience. First of all, he goes to shopping centers, which is, again, my nightmare.
Yeah, same.
But he would go to a shopping center. He will go through items and try them on and try them on and try them on. And then maybe buy something, maybe not. Or memorize the item, the size, the fit that he likes, and then try to find it online for a cheaper price.
Yeah.
Or
smart.
he'll wait for it to come on sale.
On sale, I do that occasionally too. Yeah, go into a store, try it on, love it, and
Which
then
is-
go, I'm going to wait.
I think you have to love the act of shopping
To do that. Yeah,
because it's a lot of
that's true.
effort.
Yes, it is a lot of effort.
But then if you compare this to, again, let's say Temu, are you applying the same behavior to Temu?
No, you're just clicking. This
Yeah.
is the point. I actually think my buying behavior might change slightly after this podcast. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you compare it, right, you're very methodical and you're very structured in approach. But then there's Temu that spins the wheel and all
Yeah.
bets are off.
click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click. Yeah, no. But also I think generally, because remember I said I specifically know what I want and then I go online and find the cheapest. The cheapest doesn't necessarily mean Australian.
Correct.
And understanding that whole money chain, supply chain is really important. And it's a value thing for me. I
Yeah.
will go to the local markets every Saturday because I want to support local.
Yeah.
And then how hypocritical.
And then translate
And-
that to online.
And
right?
yeah, I don't translate it to online, right? Yeah.
I learned always to go for the .com.au domain if I
Right.
find it, which usually lands you on the iconic Meier, Mecca brands if you go for cosmetics, or David Jones. So one of the bigger retailers in Australia.
Yeah.
You usually land on their page and they will have the item.
Yep.
And then if I have a lot of time and I can be bothered, I might compare between them. But that once in a year occasion.
It depends how quickly they ship.
Yeah, it's like if they have it in stock,
Yeah.
and if they have it in stock, they
You
got
just
me.
click.
Yeah, I'm done because I'm impatient, right?
Yeah, I'm getting that.
But it still is the active choice of trying to support the economy in Australia,
Yeah.
and the local economy,
Well done.
and not trying to get the money overseas.
Mm.
I did fail yesterday.
Oh God, what did you do?
I bought Cards Against Humanity, the Golden Girls edition.
Of course you did.
From the US, because they are not available in Australia. But that's an exception. That's a $50 exception. And I think as a gay man,
You have to
buy
Yes,
Cards
I
Against
get
Humanity with Golden Girls. So
It's a no-brainer.
yeah, I had to. But I do try to shop everything local otherwise.
Well done. Well, it's been a really interesting podcast,
It
Carl.
has
I think
been.
you have changed my buying attitudes and behaviours.
I hope that everybody out there who is listening, just think where you spend your money, and that you actually hold. You're voting it, right? Every dollar you spend is a vote that you can orchestrate to be Australian, to be overseas, and I don't want to say go either way. I'm just saying is that be aware that you're voting.
Yeah.
For economies, for social values, for human values, that you are voting for data privacy and
environmental.
Just consider
humanitarian.
all of this. Consider all of this, how you spend your money and where you spend it, because ultimately, this is capitalism. So, if consumers vote, companies will follow.
Yeah.
It's never the other way around.
Yeah, demand equals.
Yeah, exactly.
Supply.
If we build up, if we shift our demand to what we think is the right way to do, then businesses will follow, because that's where the money is, and they need to make profit. So it's a very easy equation in the end.
Yeah, very binary.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. That was our podcast on supply chain, money chain, and online retail. I hope you do enjoy our podcasts, and please leave us comments, leave us messages. Also leave us messages. What do you want to hear next? If you want a topic discussed, and we will throw ourselves into it. Until next time. And thanks, Christine, for joining me.
Thank you, Carl. See you, everyone.